Hello everyone, this is a recap day number 3 of a World Championship match between Gukesh and Ding. We actually reviewed already round number 1, second one was not interesting, and today with me as usual, my friend FIDE Vladimir Chernikov.
Ciao.
So Vladimir, did you like today's game? What are your emotions? What can you tell about this game?
Okay, I mean, I like it more than yesterday's one because yesterday it was just like trade, and nothing else. So it was at least exciting to watch. The quality of the game, like if you don't do anything, then probably you mistake less than when you're trying to do something, right? It's true, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll not give any spoilers, but I'm disappointed with the performance of the guys.
Yeah, both of the guys could have done something better. But okay, let's see what happened. Gukesh today plays white. Last time there was e4 and French where Gukesh lost and Ding played perfect game. But right here, d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, c4, e6, and there are plenty of options. It can be Catalan, it can be Queen's Gambit, and right here Gukesh plays, he chooses a little bit weird move order, but this is all preparation. c6 and Queen c2 was played. And actually I can tell a lot about this position because I played myself. As black idea of this approach is that normally white kinda doesn't play this way. White continues, for example, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, cd, ed, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, c6, and we can reach approximately position like this, where white has some development, black has some development, and at some point black wants to play knight e4, establish the knight right here, trade off these bishops, play knight f6, play queen e7, play bishop f5, have nice development, and even develop an attack on the king side. So what does Gukesh want to say right here by playing this line? He plays queen c2, which kinda disables any opportunity for this bishop to be developed on the good spot. Because he's basically bad, because all of the pawn structure isn't doing great. And ideally, he wants to play h3, bishop f4 and e3, making sure that the bishops will not get traded, and this bishop on this long diagonal will be super irritating. Pretty interesting approach. But Vladimir, can you tell us what the disadvantage of this approach and what Ding tried to present right here and how he played?
Yeah, he played g6 to be able to play bishop f5.
Yeah, and idea is that, white kind of trying to resist bishop f5 move, but by playing g6, black can try to play bishop f5. Of course, it was all the prep of Gukesh, and he had some concrete idea in mind by playing like that. Yeah, it's like, what happened in the game? Let's see first. What happened in the game is h3, and the moves that you don't really expect because it looks extremely weird. Why on earth would you really play h3 in this position? Bishop f5 follows, attacking the queen. Queen goes to b3, forcing kinda black to defend the pawn on b7. By playing queen b6, and in this position Gukesh plays g4, and it's a bit aggressive for such tournament, but this was his prep. He tries to take space and ask where this bishop will really go, and it's not so easy to find the way where to go. Vladimir, where would you push your bishop? How would you play right here?
I mean, there are ideas of different kinds. There is a possibility to go to e4 or to take on b3 and go to c2. Me, myself, I'm a very careless person. I still will take on b3 and play bishop c2 as for me, but there are more careful people in the world for sure.
Yeah, and like Ding decided to play queen b3, ab, and bishop c2, kind of going in the trap of Gukesh, and not trap, but prop, and going for a very aggressive setup. But instead, there was a bishop e4 move, threatening to take on f3. This bishop, if he's removed, there is nothing scary because we can take back, and our knight is on some sort of good post, and we can continue development. And after bishop g2, there is annoying g5 threat, kicking knight away, and then this bishop is hanging, so black would have to play h6 at some point. That's probably what disturbed Ding a little bit. He could take queen b3 first and then play h6, or do it this way, but it looks pretty shaky. So because of that, back then there was another approach. similar to g6, but to play bishop e7 first. Because right here, after bishop e7, we kind of develop normally. If, for example, Gukesh tries a similar approach, playing h3s and trying to go either g4 or bishop f4 and have this cozy spot on h2, it's possible to play a ridiculous move. Can you name it, Vladimir? Because, I mean, that's
Yeah, bishop
unspeakable.
d6.
Yeah.
Bishop d6.
And you can ask, are you dumb, guys? Like, what the hell are you talking really about? But what's the point of this weird approach?
Yeah, okay, so if we hold directly to d6, there's some bishop g5. And if you try to kick it away, like by playing, yeah, let's say bishop g6, bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, the bishop really is fine there. And if you play g5, bishop g3, and we just weakened our pawn structure, and h file is open, and etc., right? He takes his pawn towards the center, opens file for the rook. And if he compares the position after h3, it's even improvement. So let's say, yeah, h3
Yeah, I
with
mean,
h3
not
included,
here, yeah.
yeah. Bishop d6 here, h6, yeah, bishop h4, g5 at some point, yeah, bishop
Yeah, and,
g3.
and and the reason is that this h3 move is already harmful in this move order, because after bishop g3 takes, this pawn is extremely weak, these pawns are also doubled. So h3 right here doesn't work, and disproved by this weird approach. I mean, I'm very curious if this would happen in the game, if Ding chose bishop e7. On the other hand, bishop g5 leads to pretty boring positions. When this bishop got some, I don't know, redemption, he finally can be traded, and the position is super equal. I mean, almost a draw. But if, let's say, bishop f4, it can lead to similar positions after h3 and similar idea of Gukesh, with the big difference that right now, after bishop g2, g5 is never a threat. Because if we play, let's say, knight bd7, g5, we can play knight h5, attacking this bishop, and this position is totally fine and no threat. So this scenario would be better. And funny enough, that right here, like, if you look at the time management of the Ding, you might see that he's wasting a lot of time, especially after queen b3, a, b, and bishop c2. And he plays this line as white. I saw
Yeah, so
several
that's a
games.
surprise.
Yeah, I saw several games of him playing that. Mostly he played it more or less to get equal positions. This was his more aggressive approach. But yeah, that's a bit weird, and why Ding didn't dare to play bishop e4 is also a question to me. I didn't see it in his press conference after the game, but I mean, bishop e4 speaks for itself. Bishop centralized, if he's removed, our knight will get there, looking pretty nice. But okay, we
Okay,
have it.
the looks at
Yeah.
position that he received right after bishop c2, probably he shouldn't be complaining too much. I don't think he lost exactly because he played bishop c2, but okay, because of something concrete. Because in general, he looks like he just got good position as black, like without many problems. Because there's only one threat, and we'll see how Ding managed to try to defend against
Yeah,
it.
but the main problem in this position is that the bishop on c2 is in a very tricky spot, because he's about to get trapped. And like, if you could choose bishop e4, why do you complicate the game and go into the trap of your opponent? So like, play simpler, play smarter, and or go for some super complications
In
like it
general,
was in
yeah,
French.
it's kind of weird because if he plays it with white, something similar to this, he might have at least known some ideas about this position. So it comes as a surprise, like why he just mess up a little bit, or not mess up. He played very well in the end, but until some point, but he just wasted too much time here unnecessary.
Yeah, I totally agree. And right here, why, let's say, okay, Dean cannot take right here, I suspect because the bishop can be almost trapped after knight d2. If he goes here, rook c1, he has nowhere to go, and bishop c4 is not serious because the bishop plays really poorly, not even mentioning that there is bishop
Bishop
b8, rook
a8.
a7. So yeah, in the game, h5 happened, and Dean played it fast because he calculated everything. Forcing kind of go g5 and then probably go to e4. But in the game, Gukesh played rook g1. He said after the game that it was his prep. Like, knight bd7 happened, so normal development, avoiding losing the pawn on a7 after bishop b8, rook a7. Knight d2, defending the pawn, also very logical. And here, Vladimir didn't play the only viable option. Was it difficult to find? How do you think?
Well, I mean, I was watching it live at some point, and yeah, I was at first when I saw move rook g8 because it was played more or less fast, as I remember, or at least I had this opinion at the time. So, but and at first, right, it looks like very impressive move. But then let's see what else, right? I mean, rook c1 is a threat with the idea to trap bishop. There's option similar to this that is play knight h7, but it's much worse because let's say after knight h7 happens more or less the same thing, like rook c1, etc., g5. But then it's worse. Just there's some rook h1 at some point for white. At some moment, yeah, rook c1. Let's say we play g5. Even here, yeah, we go out some rook h1 and the spin. Still, you can play maybe some try bishop g7, but position is very uncomfortable. And except of knight h7, there is nothing else. c5 can be an option, but also it doesn't work. It weakens a lot, and also it doesn't solve all the problems. I think it loses materials. There's knight b5, there's rook c1, there is whatsoever. So yeah, it's only move actually. So
Yeah.
by trying to calculating one by one, excluding moves,
And
you can
Vladimir, you
find it.
didn't mention what's the point of rook g8, but obviously it's g5, freeing
G5, yeah.
the option right here. And right here, okay, I'm gonna ask you a question before we continue. How would you assess g5 move? What can you tell me about it? Because I also have a lot to say, but let's start with you first.
Okay. Also, I hope that our guys who are watching will think about this move. For me, I don't like this move at all, to be honest, because I think first of all the f5 square becomes available for the bishop after you play this, and in general also h5 square is not that worse for the knight because then he can reposition himself via g7 to other better square like as e6 or f5. You're just creating holes. You don't achieve anything, and I have rumors that saying that Gukesh was kind of happy with this move in his press conference,
I mean, it's not
and
rumors, at least from what I saw from press conference. That he said like, I'm pretty happy that I totally outplayed my opponent, and like, I mean, g5 move created a lot of problems for Ding. But in my opinion, g5 move just strategically dumb, and not only my opinion. If you ask like
yes,
any more or less strong chess player, because the problem of Gukesh, I don't know if he realizes it or not, but he like right here works like calculator, like a soulless
yeah,
guy, like some machine. Because it's like the problem of new generation guys who are right now old Indian stars, Uzbek stars. They like calculate a lot. They rely on calculations like some machines, and sometimes they can go to ridiculous like moves only because it works somewhere tactically. Maybe it doesn't work, but sometimes strategically it looks insane, and sometimes it is in fact insane, which is the problem. And humans are not really engines, and sometimes yeah you can like figure out some patterns, but g5, this is exactly the moment where it's strategically bad, because as Vladimir said, it creates a lot of problems in the position. And for example, to compare with rook c1, it was way better because it also like involves some calculations, but the position will be without any risk. And after g5, bishop e3, for example, bishop h7 seemed the most logical to me, but let's say after knight f3, this pawn has to be defended. Playing bishop h6 looks really strange, if
yeah,
not
H
to say more,
file,
because h-file will be weak, and I mean, it's not really for a very long time. Knight e4 is somewhat better, take, knight g5, and this is a position we can get into, but I mean, pawn is a pawn, genius
yes,
quote by chess players who are greedy, but still, it's like, I mean, it looks better. Engine recommends here bishop e4, and I mean, I can play this position all day long. Bishop pair, position is open. I mean,
yeah,
we can
no
play
chances to
e4
lose,
later on.
and yeah, you can
So
pressure.
game for two results. Instead, you play g5, which is, I mean, positional error in my opinion. Again, I'm
And
not
except of
playing.
this, I mean, we need to understand that like if Gukesh loses his game in some world, then it's over. Like I mean, it's basically over. If he might lose his game, you create a lot of weaknesses. You play for a risk. We'll see even the continuations that happened that finally work out for him was also based on the very sharp position where I mean we are humans, we can mistake. And it's true. I mean, I just was discussing it with one of my students. When Ding is in form, obviously in terms of positional play and end games, he's like way better than Gukesh. There is no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, calculation. Obviously, Gukesh is younger. Gukesh is more prepared for it. But that's not position where you need to enter somewhere here. And we'll see that the Ding probably was like 1-2 moves away from getting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's possible to say that, I mean, that's because of engine. It's not because of engine, it's because of, like, I mean, open any strategical book, it would say you don't create holes in your position. And right here, it has concrete approach, but with a detailed analysis, it is clear that, I mean, it's too much. And still, we're not playing World Championship match, don't get us wrong. But still, not, I mean, to say that g5 was a strong move, this would be, like, peak of hypocrisy. Knight h5 was played. Bishop h2, rook h8, creating some pressure potentially and
Actually, it's
preparing
very
knight
strong
g7.
move. I mean, when I saw it first time, that move I overlooked. This for me is way stronger than Rook G8, let's say, because there are alternatives in this position. Like you can try to away with Bishop somewhere or something, but Rook G8 is very strong for me.
I
Like a
mean,
lot.
yeah, I guess like knight g7 also makes sense, but I mean, it's more about playing maybe against bishop h3, but I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
For
Then
me,
bishop h3, because for me bishop h3 was very annoying move in general. So I see rook h8. Moreover, he trying kind of in worst of the cases like for white to force 7 the draw. So f3 is forced, and then you
but on the
play.
other hand, I don't know, like after rook h8, it also doesn't seem devastating for us. Yeah, I mean, maybe it will lead to some trouble, but overall, I don't think that's that big of a deal. But rook h8 is strong. I agree. Gukesh goes for his direct idea, which is trapping this bishop and saying just bye bye. I'm gonna take you. But Ding plays knight g7, attacking the bishop. Bishop g3, and this is like the top of this game. Like, I mean, I don't know, point where we climbing, because this was a crucial moment of the game. And what Dean played is rook h5. And like, Vladimir, would you play this move? Would you
Oh
even
no, no, no!
consider it?
Definitely not play this move. Thank you. I was considering a lot of moves in this position, to be honest, because that was live, and exactly there was times that I was exactly watching it when I was analyzing it with one of my students. And I mean, there are some different possibilities. The first thing that like came to my mind in per second was to move bishop f5, just like run away in order to not get trapped. E4, bishop e6. And except of concrete lines that is true, maybe some will find difficult to find, that is c takes and knight b5, and okay, there black needs some precise play. Looks like after playing rook c8 he's fine here.
But yeah, I
uh
mean, it's like this one is pretty
it's
hard
quite
to
hard.
find, in my opinion, because like rook a7 we need to play. There is some game going on,
Yeah, we
and
need to calculate, yeah, a lot here. Basically what probably Gukesh wanted to be played. But okay, at least you don't get your bishop trap. I think it's
but
a
I
straight
mean,
move.
you can also play bishop d5, which probably is a lot better, because after knight d5 cd, not so
Yeah,
clear what
what's
the
the
play
problem?
is.
Yeah.
Because this knight can be developed, and right now all these holes, I don't know,
Yeah,
pop up
because I
like
think this
some.
is way better. Because look, I mean, knight b6 will defend on d5 if ever, like someone will attack at this pawn. So knight goes to f5, bishop can go to e7, pressuring g5 pawn. Rook has an open file. Like, what's
Yeah,
the problem
bishop
here?
b5 looks pretty nice, but it doesn't do any damage, and we
Yeah,
can actually even later
f5.
play rook h4 if the bishop goes
Yeah,
away and
bishop b4.
targeting.
Like, development is easier. Like, what's the problem for black here? I don't know. So that's first definitely
I
thing.
mean, rook a5 is somewhat of a
Knight
challenge,
b6.
but we moved it a little bit, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it
rook
looks
h7, bishop goes
totally
to
fine.
b4 at some point. Even what's the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the first one. I don't know what Dink didn't know right here. He didn't mention this move in the analysis. None of them did. At least I mean, I didn't watch the whole press conference. Maybe it popped up later, but from the first glance, that's what we have.
Also,
And
the bishop e7, right?
yeah, bishop e7. That's what Dink was calculating, as he said. And right here, let's say what he said he didn't like: rook c1, bishop f5, e4, bishop e6, ed. And right here, he considered bishop d5. When in previous position with bishop f5, bishop e6, it makes sense because there is
Because
no rook
e7.
on the c file. But right here, I don't know, I would consider it out of like just elimination, because this looks really dangerous, and he said that it looks dangerous, even though engine gives here black advantage after some like 96 moves and some continuations. We got enough con to play, but Dean got scared. It's still like I don't know, 5 times
There is
stronger than Rook h5, but still.
there's one game that I like to show in my lessons that I liked a lot that played this year in Andorra Open Championship between Shemanov and I think Gazarian or something like that is his name. So where was this idea? And if you can check it if you want. It's last round of Andorra Chess Open. Shemanov playing white, and there was this idea that black can enter to c2, and you just sacrifice pawn on b2 in order that looks gets uncomfortable there, and while it stays there passively, you can keep developing initiative. So it's not like very uncommon idea. But okay, Ding probably decided it's too scary, and he preferred to. Okay, we'll see now.
Yeah, it's like there was a better move, like just playing CD. I don't know what he was scared. Knight b5 right now, not targeting this pawn, and we have a room
Yeah,
for the
just king
king to
goes away.
escape.
What's the
So
problem?
this one I didn't get. I mean, I was
That's
more
probably
worried.
the best line, right? Of all, I think.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
all for black,
that's.
the most safe.
I was more worried about e4, but then, like, as we
Bishop
watched,
g5, very straight.
engine here shows few options, and the main one is too dangerous. But bishop g5, totally human move, and let's say rook c1 is not trapping the bishop, because we just
Yeah, you
take,
take and you
and
take
go
on
bishop
b3.
b3. So, I mean, I don't know how, like, you play rook h5. I understand that he's already low on time, but bishop e7, human move. Bishop f5 is even more human move. which, yeah, it's like with a detailed analysis looks more dangerous. But what was wrong with bishop here, I have no idea. And right here,
Also,
that's
I will
probably,
say, yeah, continue.
yeah, and right here I think that Gukesh like calculated it, but this is a problem of like this approach. You calculate some lines, you do not like look, I mean, what's behind strategically, and strategically this position is pretty bad. Instead, Gukesh could have better strategically position. Instead, he just trying to gamble, and it works for him, which is good. But in the long run, it can be bad approach. If he played against somebody like Magnus Carlsen, it would be just, I don't know, nail him with the hammer and just like laugh in the end, because it would be a very easy win.
Okay, after Rook H5 was played, that was a blunder. We'll see now why. I just realized that how like unpredictable is Ding Liren, and in general, because I remember exactly, I was since I was analyzing it, I mentioned to my students that Ding had exactly the same amount of time in move 17 as in first game of the match. I think he had like 36, 35 minutes for 23 moves, like 1.5 minute per move, or more or less. And I said, like, for sure, here Ding will match exactly before Rook H5 was played, actually. Said, if that difficult position with a lot of pieces that was in first game, he managed to play that good. I said, here for Ding, more simple position, it will not be any problem. And after probably 1 minute, I see Rook H5 on the board. So that's what happens.
Yeah, but on the other hand, in the previous position, he was pressuring. Right here, he's playing under the pressure, and it's well-known fact that attacking is always easier than defending.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if you keep your bishop on c2 whole game, right? Fine.
yeah, yeah. So e4 was played, d, f, e. Knight e6 was played, and basically right here, I don't know what to analyze. I will just show you what Dean blundered, what he calculated. After knight e6, it looks like all these juicy pawns are falling, but the problem with the bishop, and I mean, he's about to get killed. So knight d4 was played, and after bishop f2, what Dean calculated was bishop g7, and he blundered right here knight e2. And knight e2 is a very powerful move because this bishop is kind of trapped. I mean, where to go? Because after taking, he's still trapped, and he has to be sacrificed. Playing something like bishop d3 is the move, but then we got bishop d4, very good intermediate move, again winning it. So yeah, that's what Dean overlooked. Was it difficult? I mean, position is complicated, so it's pretty easy to miss it.
And just to mention, yeah, why is that crucial, right? Because now white can keep bishop pair, basically.
Yeah, white can keep bishop pair, and that's what happened in the game. It's like knight takes b3, rook c2, knight d2, king d2, knight e5, and again the bishop pair, this position is impossible. In fact, there was an idea to play right here knight e6 straight away, which is like very thin line between two options. It like looks unnoticeable. Right here, let's say it's possible to go bishop c5, and somewhere we got the idea of knight e5, knight f3, and because we didn't trade, this pawn can be a burden. It's still worse, don't get us wrong, but at least we got something. After bishop d4 right here, the game goes on. We might
bishop
like
c3, yeah,
we
we
can
take on b3,
take,
on
and this
e4.
position is not simple, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, somewhere rook can go to h3 at some point, knight e5, you know.
yeah,
That's very
pawns will
playable. I mean,
start
that's very,
moving.
very playable. I tried to play it myself. I just say that, let's say, one wrong move from white, computer already says it's like equal, like one wrong I mean, in terms of computer, not like blundering something, but even positionally some misplay move, it can already show equality after it. So Gukesh still needs to be very precise.
Yeah, and right here after d takes here, the piece was taken, and Dink already has less time, but this is like just already technique part. It's like piece for 2 pawns. Of course, if you like 500 rated player, you need to keep on playing until the mate, but in this case, when two such huge strong players competing, of course it's just everybody realizes it. Usually at such moments, if I get such bad positions, I just try to play faster to get it over with faster.
Exactly.
And if I like find the chance because my opponent thinks that I know something, then okay. But if not, at least I mean I will not torture myself for like 4 hours. And right here the game continued. Dink, as you can see already in the tough time trouble, it's move number 33. He got like less than 2 minutes. And in the end, as I understand, he blundered by time, right?
Yes, he lost on time. I think 2 moves before control or 3.
Yeah, but the position is already like
Which
really
lost.
sucks.
Yeah.
It's like bishop of 5 after that, and we just win. And yeah, it's like I don't know. Gukesh still has to work on a lot after this game, especially strategically, because in the game number one, he committed some strategical mistakes which led to the loss. And right here, if Dink was in a better, I don't know, mood shape, with more time, with more confidence, and wasn't like out prepared, I guess he could lift it. But I mean, it wasn't that hard, you know.
Not at all.
Uh,
Not at all.
because
Actually,
yeah,
now we have rest day. I mean, now we have rest day. It's good for Dink in this case because he can recover. And finally, he has 2 games with white until next rest day, and one with
On
black.
the
Which
other
is
on
good.
the other hand, I always hate like losing and waiting until the next game, so it's gonna be slow burner, you know. You
You
just
know, it's
like
for you
lost.
to realize your mistakes, they say. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe check something in preparation because this preparation wasn't great. I mean, it's something new. And yeah. By the way, Kramnik played it with white. I don't know. Are there any chances that Kramnik is in the team of Gukesh, or how do you think?
Uh, by playstyle, actually, I'll suggest Gukesh to do something with it.
Yeah,
I'll suggest him to hire Vladimir Kramnik because
yeah.
he can
He's a
definitely
great.
teach you a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I saw he was doing recap, so probably not. But it's like really funny because I heard stories from Vishy that he was like taking Anand into his camp in 2010s, and he's also like from India, so who knows? Because
Who
yeah,
knows?
it's like. But yeah, so I hope both of the players will learn something from this game.
I
Gukesh will
hope
adjust
Dink
his
will
like positional play, and Dink will work
preparation,
on
yeah,
his mistakes.
as well.
Because I mean, right here, it's not about like really preparation. It's
And
just about
I
like
don't
common
like when
sense.
you know, when move 17, you have almost 1 hour less than your opponent. Every game is black. I think it's uncomfortable.
It's like you described my playing style. But okay,
Yes,
let's stay tuned in for the next rounds. I hope they will be that exciting. Our next recap will be on Friday. And please, if you like our content, like, subscribe, write your comments. Who do you support? And see you next episodes. Bye.
yeah.